the NSA's secret spy activities and that massive government data breach that may have been carried out by the Chinese. Let's bring in national security commentator and former Michigan Congressman Mike Rogers. He was chair of the House Intelligence Committee. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Allison.
Okay, Edward Snowden strikes again. We know this information about the NSA's spying through him, courtesy of the New York Times. He provided information to them, and it turns out the NSA has been surveilling Americans' internet traffic, looking for evidence of computer hacking. You were at the Intelligence Committee while this was going on. What are your thoughts?
Well, we've seen this kind of story before, this movie before. Talking about it in the terms of the NSA spying on Americans is inaccurate. It's not an accurate portrayal of the program.
Why? I mean, did it say that it does look at on U.S. soil at Americans' internet activity?
Well, no, the program in description, and I have to be careful here, much of it is still classified, but this is, imagine foreign information flying into the United States. Remember, for the Chinese to get into the government systems, it comes from overseas. That traffic comes into the United States. What the NSA was trying to do, according and consistent with the statement by Director Clapper, was, hey, listen, we think we can get a better handle on this if we can look at it coming in to the United States. And the Department of Justice, even according to those documents, said this is great, but you cannot look at Americans specifically. You can't do that. It has to be tied to a foreign government. So this notion that they were widely looking at Americans' data and information was inconsistent with the way the program was designed, and I believe it was working at the time.
Okay. So in other words, you're not looking at my online shopping. You're not looking at my emails to my friends. However, if I'm an American that's receiving some sort of information from a foreign government, you are looking at that email traffic? I mean, that internet traffic?
If it's a foreign government of interest, it's likely, well, you would hope that they would try to figure out what that communication is all about. Remember, in the old days, spies used to try to get the code clerk in the embassies, because that's where all that secret information would go into the embassy. And if you could recruit the code clerk to give you the codes, you could crack it and you could catch the Russian spying or the Chinese spying or the North Korean illegal activity. All of that has changed in the age of the Internet. So that information is still dangerous to the United States, and it's coming into the United States in a volume that is staggering. So candidly, they're not interested in what you're shopping for online. They're interested in trying to catch and wean down this information that we know will have a negative impact, including the Chinese stealing and building this database of Americans that's unprecedented, and they're going to use it for nefarious purposes. They'll use it for intelligence purposes. That's what they're trying to stop.
Okay, let's talk about that, because it is fascinating, the timing of this. I mean, it just dovetails so perfectly today with what the U.S. believes China is up to. So this is called the largest breach of federal personnel data. It's people's government security clearances that were supposedly hacked into. Their federal employee records. Does this mean that somebody got 4 million people's Social Security numbers?
It may or may not. It probably didn't get all 4 million, but it depends on the depth of the breach. So they are likely to have gotten some of that personal information. And so we've seen this before from the Chinese. They've done it in healthcare systems, and they've done it now in the federal government, and they've done it in other places. They'll use this for two reasons. This is why the Chinese cyber program is so dangerous. They will use it for government purposes, meaning I want to be able to discern who are your intelligence agents so that we can either keep an eye on them or arrest them. Number one, bad idea. And two, they'll use this information, cull it together, to also try to get into private systems to steal intellectual property, and we've seen them do this, to the tune of almost $1 trillion, take it back to China, repurpose it, and then artificially compete against that product, U.S. company, costing us thousands of jobs, trillions of dollars. I mean, this is a massive problem, and the Chinese are getting more aggressive, and they use all of this in the same way. So this isn't traditional government-to-government spying. This is a combination of economic espionage that the world has never seen, and this understanding that they're trying to disrupt government operations around the world as well.
You heard our correspondents reporting on this. The Chinese deny this. Well, sort of. They basically say we need to stop clutching at the wind. How certain are you that China is, in fact, behind this massive breach?
You know, when I first got my first briefing about cybersecurity problems back in 2004, it was, this is kind of a bad thing, but we can handle it. Every year, exponentially worse. The capabilities of the Chinese are very, very good and getting better, unfortunately. The good news is so is our ability to, it's something called attribution. Can you attribute accurately who was the perpetrator of this? Probably nobody better to do that than the National Security Agency. It's still hard, still difficult, but if the government feels confident enough that they're saying we believe this is the Chinese, there will be multiple layers of proof within the NSA and our other intelligence services that would confirm that. So
okay.
I'm fairly confident that if they're saying it, they're accurate on it, and they didn't just wait. Remember, this happened months and months ago. It will take a forensic study for months to try to figure this out. And again, the Chinese are good at surreptitiously getting into the country, so you have to kind of work through all of those walls of secrecy in order to find out who the true perpetrator is.
Yeah.
I'm confident that the NSA has accomplished that.
Mike, very quickly, what is a bigger threat in your mind, this level of hacking or ISIS?
Well, they're so very, very different. One can blow up, you come to a mall and shoot people, and the other one steals your economic prosperity moving forward. And the economic loss to organized criminal enterprise that are stealing both our finances and our future is significant. So it's a big strategic threat, and it's a local physical threat. Both are equally as bad.
Our intelligence officers have their hands full, certainly.
Yeah.
Mike Rogers, thanks so much.